Welcome to today's deep dive. Usually when we talk about business expenses, there's this expectation of precision, It's something tangible.
Right, like a physical receipt.
Exactly. A piece of equipment breaks on the job site, you take it to the mechanic, and boom, they hand you a piece of paper, an invoice. You know exactly what that broken part just cost your operation for the month. You log it, you claim it, and you move on.
Yeah, it's a totally visible, undeniable loss on your ledger. You can literally point to the physical object and attach a dollar amount to it.
But when you look at the unglamorous side of running a local service-based business, specifically for the people out there doing the hard physical work, like the tradies, the clinic operators, the salon owners, that clean invoice just completely vanishes.
It really does. It becomes a financial leak that's entirely invisible to traditional accounting.
And that is our mission today, to make that invisible leak visible. We are pulling our analysis from a really fantastic set of notes from a show called The Front Desk. It was created by Alejandro Franco, and he's a real operator. He runs his own blinds business up on the Sunshine Coast, and he also builds AI front desks for small businesses.
Having an actual operator's perspective here is just crucial, I think,
Mhm.
because the core premise of his notes challenges this incredibly stubborn assumption in local business.
Oh, for sure.
He points out that a missed call is not just a missed call. A missed call is a job that just rang your competitor.
Yeah.
It's the absolute definition of a silent revenue killer. And it happens mostly because business owners completely misunderstand consumer behavior.
I want to keep this super practical for you today. No hype, no generalized tech guru talk, and we are absolutely rejecting any of those, fluffed up marketing statistics you see floating around online.
Good, yeah. Keep it grounded.
Exactly. Let's talk about the reality of being on the tools, waiting for knockoff time, and trying to run a physical shop. Because the immediate assumption from people outside the industry is that, well, if you're missing calls, you must just be disorganized or something.
Right, like you just have poor time management. But the reality on the ground is the exact opposite. Missing calls happens because you are incredibly busy actually making money.
Yes.
Think about a sparky up a ladder. Both hands are occupied with live wires, installing a ceiling fan, the phone is down in the ute, or sitting on a drop cloth in the next room. They literally cannot abandon a dangerous task to go check caller ID.
Or picture a busy barbershop on a Saturday morning. You are mid-fade, you have 3 chairs going. Answering the phone means physically stopping a paying customer's haircut, leaving them just sitting there in a cape to go have a 5-minute chat with a total stranger.
The customer in the chair is going to be furious.
Exactly. And Alejandro uses the example of his own blinds business. You have a heavy bracket in one hand, a power drill in the other, and you're balancing on a step stool. Reaching into your pocket to answer an unknown number isn't just annoying, it's an operational hazard.
Yeah, the missed call is literally a side effect of doing the actual work that keeps your business alive. Which brings us to this concept in the notes that perfectly frames the structural problem here.
The cruel timing.
Yes, the cruel timing of the local business phone call. The demand for services is inherently mismatched with the traditional working hours of the supplier.
It's so true. The highest value calls, the really lucrative emergency jobs or major renovations, they tend to arrive exactly when nobody is around to answer them.
Right, they arrive after hours and on weekends.
And if you just map out a typical consumer's evening, it makes perfect sense. People do not handle their personal life admin while they're sitting at their own office desks at 2 p.m.
No, they handle it at like 7:30 p.m. The kids finally go to bed, they sit down on the couch, they look up at the ceiling and realize, oh great, there's a massive water stain.
Yep.
That is the exact moment they pull out their phone and search plumber near me.
Meanwhile, the plumbing business finished on the tools at 4 p.m., did some paperwork, and locked up by 5. Or, a dental clinic's front desk goes home at 5 p.m., but patients are getting these sudden, agonizing toothaches at 9 p.m.
The availability of the business and the consumer's moment of high-intent panic are just completely out of sync.
Which leads to a massive behavioral shift in how consumers handle voicemails. Like, 10 years ago, you might have patiently waited for the beep, left a detailed message about your ceiling stain, and just hoped for a call back the next day.
Not anymore.
No. Today, leaving a voicemail feels like sending a fax. People just do not do it.
We have been totally conditioned by the Amazon Prime effect. Consumers expect instant resolution. When someone needs a service, they aren't looking to have a nice chat, they are looking to offload a stressful problem immediately. So if they hear an automated voicemail greeting, they simply hang up.
They go straight back to Google, and they room the very next name on the list until a human being, or at least some system that can solve their problem, picks up. And the real danger for you, the business owner, is the complete lack of feedback.
Right, because there's no rejection.
None. A customer doesn't call back the next day to say, hey, mate, I took my $3,000 renovation to your competitor because you didn't answer. There's just silence.
And this creates a really fascinating psychological defense mechanism in small business owners. Alejandro calls it the weather problem, which I think is just brilliant.
That analogy stuck out to me immediately. We treat missed calls the exact same way we treat a sudden downpour of rain, like it's just this uncontrollable force of nature.
Yeah, you just kind of shrug at it.
You finish up on the tools, you get to knock off time, look at your phone, see 3 missed calls from unknown numbers, and you sigh. You call them back at 6 p.m. and you get a polite, oh, hey, we've already sorted it, thanks anyway. And you just shrug. It's the weather. It rains, you eat a little wet, you move on.
But treating it like the weather is incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
Because it completely absolves the owner of any operational responsibility. It masks this critical failure in your sales funnel as just a simple, unavoidable annoyance.
Because there's no invoice.
Exactly.
You drop a power drill and it shatters, you see the $300 loss. You feel the pain immediately and you write it down. But because there's no invoice generated for a job that you never even knew about, the loss is completely invisible on your books.
Your accountant is never, ever going to flag a $10,000 monthly loss from missed calls at tax time. It just doesn't exist on paper.
But it's very real in the bank account.
Oh, absolutely. And here is the harshest reality of all the competitors who got that clinic booking or that wiring job. They weren't offering a better service. They weren't cheaper.
Right. The person with a leaking roof at 7:30 p.m. is not doing a multivariable price comparison of 5 local businesses.
No, they just want the leak to stop.
Yeah.
Your competitor simply answered the phone, and that was their entire competitive advantage.
Just picking up the phone. So the challenge becomes moving this from an invisible, assumed reality into a visible, measurable metric. You can't fix a leak if you refuse to acknowledge how much water you're actually losing.
Which brings us to the max.
Yes, the sources outline a very specific 2-minute exercise to calculate this. They call it pricing your own voicemail. And I really appreciate that it forces operators to ignore those generalized marketing statistics. We are not using some arbitrary multiplier here.
No, we are looking at 3 specific numbers pulled directly from your own business's reality. Step 1 is establishing the raw volume of missed calls per week.
And this means actually opening the log, right?
Exactly. You physically open the actual missed call log on your phone.
Oh.
No guessing allowed. Business owners consistently undercount their missed calls when you ask them to guess, mostly because our brains just filter out routine annoyances.
Right, we just forget about them.
So you count the actual ringouts, paying special attention to the volume after 4 p.m. and on weekends, which is where that cruel timing really spikes.
Okay, so let's walk through this like a standard operational review. Say, I look at my log and I see I missed 15 calls this week, but a missed supplier checking in or some automated spam call isn't a lost bathroom renovation. We have to standardize the data.
Which is step 2, determining the genuine work fraction. You have to filter out the noise and be brutally conservative here. Remove the suppliers wondering about an invoice, remove the spam, remove the wrong numbers.
Okay.
Look at that log of 15 calls and estimate genuinely how many were actual prospective jobs. Maybe it is only a third of the total.
All right, so out of 15 missed calls, we'll say 5 were genuine jobs looking for a quote or a booking.
Perfect. That brings us to step 3, determining the average job value. This is the real median amount of money generated from a standard job in your specific industry.
So for a plumber, it might be a standard call-out fee and a minor repair.
Right. Or for a salon, it's the average price of a cut, color, and maybe a product upsell. For Alejandro's blinds business, it's an average housewife.
Let's run a really realistic hypothetical for an independent tradie. They check their log, they filter out the noise, and they determine they are missing just 2 genuine jobs a week. Just 2.
Very conservative.
Yeah, and their average job value is $800. We multiply the 2 genuine jobs by the $800 average value, which gives us a $1,600 weekly leak.
Now, a $1,600 weekly hit is definitely annoying, but most operators will just absorb it. They look at their pack schedule and think, I'm making good money, I'm at capacity anyway, I can afford to lose a couple of jobs.
But capacity is a total illusion if you're turning away high-margin jobs while doing low-margin work. We have to annualize this to really see the structural damage. We take that $1,600 a week and multiply it by a standard 52-week year.
Which brings the total to over $80,000.
80 grand. That is an entire salary just walking out the door year after year.
The psychology of this reframing is just fascinating. We'd naturally compartmentalize weekly losses as minor friction. But when you annualize the figure, it completely breaks through that defense mechanism.
It really does. You realize that $80,000 didn't just vanish into thin air. It went very specifically into your local competitor's budget count.
You essentially funded their expansion. You paid for their new ute, their new marketing campaign, or their ability to hire a new apprentice.
Yeah, staring down an $80,000 structural leak fundamentally changes how you view a ringing phone.
And the sources advise that the very first step, once you calculate this number, is to do nothing.
Wait, really? Nothing at all?
Nothing. Just sit with the data. Allow that figure to change your operational priorities before you rush out to buy some expensive solution.
Because the traditional fixes often introduce entirely new operational problems, right? Let's actually look at the standard playbook. The very first instinct is usually, okay, I just need to answer the phone more myself.
And we've already established why that fails. If you are the primary revenue generator, stopping the physical work to answer the phone means you are now operating as a full-time receptionist.
Yeah, your throughput just plummets.
Exactly. Your current customers get a fragmented experience, and your overall revenue drops anyway.
So then the business grows a little bit and they decide, okay, we're going to hire an in-house receptionist. And this is generally considered the gold standard of local business operation.
Sure, it's the traditional milestone of success.
But from an ROI perspective, based on these notes, there is a massive mismatch here. You are paying top dollar for 9 to 5 coverage, but the analytics show your highest converting, most urgent leads are actually searching at 7 p.m. or on a Sunday morning. You are paying a full-time salary for the wrong window of availability.
Exactly. The receptionist is off the clock during the exact hours of that cruel timing we discussed earlier. You've solved your daytime capacity issue, sure, but the $80,000 leak occurring after hours is completely untouched.
Which is wild when you think about the cost of that salary. So a lot of businesses realize this and pivot to option 3, the outsourced answering service or the call center, because they advertise 24/7 coverage.
Right. But the critical flaw with a standard call center is latency in context. It is usually this generic operation fielding calls for 50 different companies across all sorts of industries.
Yeah, they're just reading off a screen.
Exactly, they are reading from a rigid script. So when a stressed consumer calls at 8 p.m. about a busted hot water system, they do not want to hear, "Thank you for calling. I will take a message and pass it along to the team tomorrow."
It doesn't instantly solve the caller's problem, it just delays it.
And consumers sense that friction immediately. They know they've hit a gatekeeper, not a decision maker. Frequently, they will still just hang up after speaking to the answering service and call the next business on Google.
Because they're looking for someone who can actually confirm an appointment time right then and there.
Precisely.
So we're looking at a scenario where answering it yourself ruins your current revenue, a receptionist misses the most lucrative hours, and a call center alienates the caller. This obviously requires a mechanical fix, which brings us to the AI front desk. I really want to look under the hood here. How does a system like the one Alejandro builds actually operate in a local, messy business environment?
Well, it requires moving away from the concept of a robotic phone tree. Those press 1 for sales, press 2 for support models from the past. Modern conversational AI relies on large language models that process speech to text in milliseconds.
Right.
The system answers the phone in your business's specific name, but more importantly, it understands semantic intent.
Explain semantic intent in this context for those who might not know.
Sure. So if a caller says, "My hot water system just burst and it's flooding the hallway," the AI doesn't just transcribe those words, it processes the urgency. It categorizes it as an emergency plumbing job rather than, say, a routine maintenance inquiry.
Oh,
And then it responds conversationally based on a specific set of parameters you've provided.
but I feel like the real hurdle for operators isn't just having a nice chat with the customer, right? It's the calendar integration. A local operator's calendar is total chaos. Jobs run over, bad traffic happens. How does the system actually secure the work without double booking?
It does it through direct API integration with the business's existing scheduling software. So tools like Service M8, Clinico, or even just a simple Google Calendar. The AI reads the real-time availability.
So it knows exactly where you are.
Yes, it doesn't just say, "I'll pass a message." It says, "I understand this is urgent. I can see our technician has a cancellation tomorrow at 10 a.m. or an open slot at 2 p.m. Should I lock one of those in for you?"
That is incredible. It acts as an active closer, not a passive gatekeeper. And because it's software, it doesn't care if it's 2 p.m. on a Tuesday or 11 p.m. on a Sunday.
Exactly that. It captures the high-intent lead at the exact moment the customer wants to buy, offering instant resolution. And furthermore, the system immediately texts the business owner the lead details and the confirmed booking before the caller has even hung up the phone.
It's like catching a leaky pipe before the water ruins the drywall. You're installing a mechanical safeguard against that invisible structural leak we talked about.
Yes, you climb down off the ladder at 5 p.m., you look at your phone, and instead of list of missed calls and a polite, "we sorted it," voicemail.
Which is the worst feeling.
It really is. But instead of that, you have a confirmed high-margin job sitting directly in your calendar for Thursday morning.
You have effectively decoupled your revenue generation from your physical ability to answer a phone.
Exactly. It allows a single operator or a really small team to operate with the responsiveness of a massive corporation without all the overhead of a layered administrative staff.
And doing the maths on the setup, if the AI system costs, a few $100s a month, but your average job value is $800, capturing just one of those phantom jobs pays for the infrastructure entirely.
Oh, easily. Everything else that catches is just pure recovered revenue. It turns a massive liability into an automated acquisition channel. You're no longer treating missed calls like the weather.
You are finally controlling the environment.
Yes.
This completely changes the operational perspective on what a phone ringing out actually represents. We took an everyday annoyance and measured the actual structural damage it inflicts on a local business. Which brings us to your practical homework for the week, based entirely on the sources we've analyzed today.
And the directive from the notes is very clear here.
Yes. Do not buy anything today. Do not go searching for software. Do not draft a job ad for a new receptionist. And definitely do not sign a contract with a call center. Just do step one.
Open your missed call log this week.
Be brutally honest with yourself. Filter out the spam and count the genuine ringouts. Do the maths. Find your genuine work fraction, multiply it by your real average job value, and annualize it by 52 weeks. You can only make a sound, strategic business decision once you actually know your own baseline number.
And as you run those calculations, I want you to sit with one final operational question. When your phone rings out tonight at 7 p.m., or this coming Sunday while you're having breakfast, are you truly protecting your profit margins by insisting on handling the phones yourself?
Yeah.
Or by trying to do it all, are you actually paying a massive hidden annual salary directly to your local competitors in the form of completely handed over jobs?
That is the harsh reality of the invisible invoice. You have to make the invisible visible. Catch you on the next deep dive.